Hello and welcome to episode 10. I'm TK's Giant, you're watching GOMEtv, and this is Back to Guardian Spotlight. I'm going over Elrond this time.
Soldiers have joined the battle.
And I enjoyed playing him. This is going to be a pretty long match, as you can tell. It's 30 minutes, it's going to make up for the last video. That was a lot shorter, I think it was like 6 or 7 minutes. I probably played Elrond about 10 times, trying different loadouts, trying to figure out which loadout I really thought went really good with Elrond. And I came up to this belt that I'm currently wearing right now. And now, I always took Elrond as, don't use too much AP, but it turns out it really boosts his abilities. Not so much, but the most important ability that it boosts is his ultimate, which is Honored Guard. Has 36-second cooldown and has an AP ratio of 0.1, which is why I typically don't run ability power. It's got a very low AP ratio. But the true damage makes up for it because, not only is your ability power contributing to, just more ability damage, and it's also, in a way, contributing to penetration because you're just getting straight up damage, which is true damage. There's no resistance to it. So that is why I changed my mind and I decided to add some AP to this belt. And I really like this belt. So first up, this belt consists of 2 relics. One is a mid-game relic, which is Fall Riders. And that's a very popular relic for anybody who's running AP. And for each enemy you kill, it gives you 10 ability power, up to a max of 300 ability power. Plus, you can stack that with 3 more gems to give you a total of 372 ability power. And this is going to boost your ultimate by more than doubling the true damage that your archer does. And the reason I like that is because the archer does last a long time, and you can also use his ability Call of Rivendell, which boosts his attack speed and also can add up to 16 basic damage, which is really big. And as you can see there, I died right off the bat. I'm going to warn you that the first 10 minutes of the game isn't very pretty, but the second 20 minutes is very rewarding if you decide to stick around and watch the whole video, which I hope you do. One thing that the enemy did have on us was they did run early game very well. And my relics were more focused around mid to late game. So that's the reason for that. And it was really kind of a back and forth between our 2 teams the whole game. And I won't say who wins, but it's a really good match. And so back to the relics for Elrond. I do like using Fall Riders first. And the reason for that is because when I get to level 14, it's more about team fighting, and I don't want to have to go jumping lanes, killing creeps, trying to stack my Fall Riders relic. It's something I kind of want to do when I hit level 8, when that ability unlocks, because it's not so important to be in your groups of 5 in the team fights at that point of the game. So that's the reason why I did that. The other reason why is because my second relic is Rohirrim Ride relic. And what that does is it gives you +2 attack speed per level to allied guardians within 7 meters. Also get +2% attack speed per level. And this does not stack. But actually it does stack if you and another teammate has Rohirrim Ride, because you're benefiting from the other buff it gives you, which is to enemy players. So that's a little interesting side note to know. Now, Rohirrim Ride, I put that at the end because I already have my A ability, which will contribute a lot of attack speed to my teammates, and it doesn't have its full effect until it's max level because, as the relic says, it gives you +2 attack speed per level. So usually in the past I ran it first to really kind of boost up my A ability with Rohirrim Ride at level 6, but I decided that it is a better choice to put Fall Riders first because it will really boost my abilities at that level. Now, the gems I put for Rohirrim Ride was a basic attack resistance gem, and then I used a movement speed gem, and then an ability resistant gem. So it's balanced on the resistance. And the reason why I chose resistance was because Elrond doesn't have too much health. He has a good amount of health as a tactician, you know, compared to maybe strikers and enchanters. But I kind of wanted to go with his passive, which is called Elven Persistence. And with the long years of wisdom and the ways of war, Elrond bestows himself and allies around him with 10 basic ability and resistance for the next 4 seconds after every 5th attack he makes upon enemies and structures. So it's going to boost it up to a total of about 15 resistance when I'm getting my passive off, and that's the reason why I'd like to add a little more resistance to him. Now to go into the abilities of Elrond and the ones I like to level up first with my loadout, because it really gives a boost to my abilities, not just by AP, but with my attack speed buff. It also enhances the amount of attack speed I can give to my allies. I like to level up Call of Rivendell first, and what that does is Elrond brings the will of an elf lord to the battle, affecting himself and allies within long range area by increasing movement speed by 20%, scaling up to 32%, and attack speed by 10%, up into 25% when fully leveled. And basic damage can be also increased by 4 up into 16 for a duration of 5 seconds. And this ability gains no benefit from increased ability power. However, when I have my Rohirrim Ride relic activated, it's going to give my allies an additional 28% attack speed. So you're going to get a huge boost in damage to all your allies when they're near you with your Rohirrim Ride ability, relic. And then they're also going to benefit from your Call of Rivendell. If you have those two active at the same time, you're really going to mow down the enemy and do a ton of damage. So that's the ability I like to level up first. Now the second ability I like to level up first is Take Refuge, and that's only because in the beginning of the match I like to be able to heal up, because I think it's important to stay keep your health as high up as you can, because it makes you more of a threat. You can see my health right now is really low. It was at 26. All I could do was hide behind my tower. If I were to stay maybe a foot or two in front of my tower, they would have easily just gone in there and taken one shot at me and I would have died. So I like to always try to keep my health up, and that's the reason for that. Now, Take Refuge, Elrond calls upon the very battlegrounds to grant succor to his allies, creating a pool of light that radiates to medium range and persists for 10 seconds. This light grants allied guardians within it 8, scaling up to 20 health per second, and increases ability and basic damage resistance, which stays at 5%, which isn't too special, but it's still something. It's like capturing a shrine almost. And this ability gains a moderate benefit from increased ability power. From my observation, it little over doubles it. You'll see me healing my allies for 50 health once my ability power is all the way up. And 50 health doesn't seem like a lot, but if it's 50 health per second for 10 seconds, that's 500 health. So you can't hate on Elrond's Take Refuge too badly. It just takes a long time to heal up, and really you don't want to sit in the same spot for 10 seconds. I think that's the biggest thing that people don't like. I typically don't ever focus on the invisibility ability that you get, and that's called Elven Grace. It's always the last ability I level up, and what it does is the Grace of the Elves is a boon of allies but deadly to enemies. Elrond projects his power around himself for 2.5 seconds, causing 12 up into 48 ability damage per second to enemy guardians within close range, while allied guardians within close range enter stealth, making them invisible for opponents while not attacking. This ability gains a moderate benefit from ability power, and I really just leave it last because in the beginning of the game I think it's a lot more useful just for the fact that it gives you invisibility and will confuse the enemies. And if you're not attacking, they can't see you and they can't target you, but you have to keep in mind if you do any kind of damage to enemy creeps or guardians or cast any abilities, you're going to reveal yourself even though it's supposed to make you stealth, so you got to be careful about that. Now for Elrond's ultimate, he has the ability called Honor Guard, and it has a 36-second cooldown. And what it does is Elrond summons an elven archer to fight by his side, and this archer has 200 health, scaling up to 750, and deals 20 damage up into 500 true damage to enemies when fully leveled, and slows a stricken enemy by 16% for 2 seconds. And this ability gains a small benefit from increased ability power. However, if you are running ability in your loadout, you're going to find that the ability that you add is really going to go a long way with the low AP conversion. It's 0.1, and this ability is the only reason why I'm running ability power too. This is the ability that's going to get Elrond kills. He's got such a low basic attack that it's really suicidal to try to get in there and melee enemy guardians to try to kill them unless they're almost at 0 health. This is going to eat through any guardian. It's good against defenders because of the true damage that ignores the resistance, and it's also good against people with lower health like strikers, because when you're about 80 true damage and the archer keeps hitting them, if you can kind of stay alive and kind of maneuver around them while your archer keeps hitting them, you can just about kill them. And you'll find that Elrond is good one-on-one, but not so great on the team fighting with this ability. Right there you're going to be a lot more of your support role. Now for the potions I like to run when using Elrond, I always run health potions because I like to keep my health up in the beginning of the game. And then I like to use cleanse potions, and that's to get away if I get rooted by an enemy, because I don't have any abilities on my own that can release me from roots and avoid controlling effects. I like to hit my invisibility and then hit my cleanse potion and then run to my tower and into safety. And cleanse potions are really growing on me. I like them even when you're pushing on the enemies and you're thinking about tower diving, because one of the biggest strategies to anti-tower diving is rooting an enemy at your tower or slowing them down with their tower. So if you pop a cleanse potion, you'll be able to just run in the tower, run out, no problem. And so that's a potion that I'm really starting to always have on me. Now, as far as commands go with Elrond, I pretty much keep it support. I like to have my heal command usually always, and it's important because you definitely don't want to die in the beginning. You are support. As a tactician, I would say your success in a game is measured by how many times you don't die. So you're not always measured by your kills. So you really just want to be around, live, heal, support your teammate that you're laning with. So I always like to keep my heal just so I don't die, because like I've said in other videos, it's really bad to die in the very beginning of the game. Only to when you get to later game, maybe even mid game, is it okay to, maybe risk trying to get a kill and die, because it won't really have as much of an impact as it does in the beginning. Now for my stack up command, I do the healing totem, and that's to kind of fulfill my support role. And the healing totem is always a great relic to have, even if you aren't a support character, because healing your whole team up to max health really makes a big difference. And if you put your Take Refuge ability on top of that command, you'll be healing a lot quicker, because the healing totem and your ability alone kind of heal a little bit slow, but you kind of really boost that duration and how fast it takes to heal somebody up. Now for my third command, I go with the Summon Archers, and I like the idea of having the archers, but they're not always useful, so you got to be careful. If you're going to use Summon Archers, a lot of people when they play Elrond do. I think that's because of his ultimate summons an archer, and so people think, oh, I have like 4 archers, and that they're going to mow down the enemy with like machine guns with your attack speed ability, but it doesn't really ever turn out like that in most cases. It's effective on a one-on-one kind of strategy, but I mean, they only kind of do like 15-30 damage kind of just like do little pokes at you. Really nothing compared to like one basic attack from a melee striker. So make sure if you're using them that they stay out in front of you. So let your enemy come to you. It's really hard to push up with them because they have a tendency to stay behind you, and it can get kind of frustrating because it's really like a waste of a command if they're not being used right. So they're good, I would say, for structures if you're trying to kill an enemy tower because they do have range to hit the base of the tower if the enemies are hiding under it. And like I said before, if you're on a one-on-one engagement, the enemy is chasing you down, summon some archers and try to whittle his health down. Maybe you can get his health down enough so you can make a run for it and he'll back off. Otherwise, you could really do it to speed up a kill, but when you have more than one guardian, it's going to be less effective because, you know, if you're on one guardian, you're going to have all the archers hitting that one guardian, and you split up the damage. It really does a lot less. So that's my view on summon archers. And for my tier 4 command, I go with the healing one. I forget what it's called. It's got the same picture as the cleanse potion. It's really good. It gives you like 12% instant health to all allies globally, and then another like 10% over time. And it also removes all controlling effects, which is huge. And the reason I like this is when you know a team fight's going down, or even if you want to boost the advantage by topping everybody's health off when you're fighting the enemy, they're fighting you, both teams' health bars are going down, really pushes the scales. And I really like that one because it contributes a lot more for the support role, which that's what I'm there for. And I'm not as great of a healer, obviously, as Galadriel, Eowyn, or Wolfrin, so I like to be able to contribute some more health that way, at least. Now, when I use this command, the way I use it is really important because it'll really boost the effects and cause a lot of confusion for the enemy team. And this is the way you do it. You can either hit your command first, or you could hit your Elven Grace ability, which gives invisibility around you for 2.5 seconds. But you'll find that once the enemy starts rooting you, and you hit your cleanse and then your invisibility, and then you're all running away, healing up, really confuses the enemy. And especially when you're near the bushes and everybody starts splitting up in different bushes, and then you pounce back on the enemy once like their summon defense or something goes away, you'll really surprise the enemy and really get the advantage of the team fight, because you will have, like I said, the element of surprise there, and they don't know where you're at, but you know where they're at, and that's a pretty big advantage to have. Now, as for other relics go that are also good with Elrond, I find that Blue Mountains is a good relic, and usually you put that relic in the beginning so that you can work up your ability cooldown, but I actually like to put it at the very end, and the way I use it is I put it with the Fell Riders, because like I said, I want to stack that ability power up in the beginning of the match when I get my Fell Riders active, so I'm doing as much damage with my ultimate ability with my archer as I can. And then the Blue Mountains give me 2 more blue gem slots that'll actually increase the damage of that archer even more, so it'll be almost near 90 true damage, which is really good. And you'll be able to use your archer's ability a lot faster because it does have a 36-second cooldown, so 25% off of that will be really huge for trying to keep using that ultimate and having it up and ready. And you'll find that you'll be less relying on your enemy teammates to help you out, and you can push a little more damage yourself, which is great. It's the belt that I would recommend if you're going into a game alone. So that's what I would do with that. Now, another good loadout, which is a little bit different. It's not going to have any ability power. It's going to be based more around Elrond's passive ability. And the relic is Mountain Roots, and your basic attacks against enemies will give you +5 basic attack and ability resistance, which stacks up to 4 times. and these stacks are lost after not attacking for 10 seconds. So that's a pretty good time limit right there. It's not too short. It can never be too long. And the way it works with Elrond is his passive, I'll remind you, on his 5th basic attack, him and allies get another 10 basic and ability damage resistance. And so if you feed off of that relic and then your passive, it'll give you a boost of 30, and then you can also put in some resistant gems there, and you can get about 40, a little over 40 resistance just from your gems and loadout alone. And that'll be really a tough guardian to kill. You'll be really annoying because you almost have like a support tank role, because you'll be near 70 resistance if you take into the account that you're capturing the shrines too, and you'll be really hard for enemies to kill. Now, I'm going to recommend that you use the same loadout as I did. I don't think there's really a much better loadout. The only thing I would say is if you don't have a lot of melee strikers that could really benefit from attack speed, then don't use Rohirrim Ride Relic, because that's really the only reason I use it, is so I line up with a melee striker or an archer, and that they do a lot more damage. If you're going to be with more of like enchanters or just minus any strikers, then go with the Blue Mountains Relic, because you'll rely less on other players to help, and you'll do a lot more damage with your ultimate. Now you can see here we pushed back in the game. In the very beginning they put up a really good fight, beginning game, and we're starting to catch up now. It's about even, we're a little bit in the lead, and we see with Sauron, he just used his ultimate, which revealed all the players on the enemy team on the map, and it let us confirm that, yeah, they were trying to kill the top creep, so we all rushed up there, and now we're going to try to steal that kill and kill them in the process too. And we did it. So now we're trying to finish them up. One thing, if you ever see the enemy team on the top creature, try to always get your team together, see if you can make some kind of stand, at least if you have 1 or 2 guardians that go up there and you steal the kill. It's worth it if they kill you in the end, because that's going to do a lot of damage to their towers, and it gives the rest of your team that buff of extra 50 damage, which really adds up when you're trying to hit the enemy towers. So you can see we just mowed down that barracks with the help of that extra 50 damage to enemy structures. It's the red circle around our feet. That's one of the ways you can tell. The other red circle around your feet is the penetration one. So you can see I'm trying to buff. I try to give the attack speed when we start attacking the barracks and the towers, because we really want to just take them down as quick as we can. And if you don't, then you risk the chance of the enemy guardians on the other team rallying and making a comeback. So we definitely don't want that. Once you take down the barracks like we did on that top barracks and center barracks, it makes it really hard for the enemy team to leave their spawn, because we force our siege units into their base, and so they can destroy the last tower and all the other towers on their own if you leave them alone. As you see here, I kind of look like I'm not really doing much. Kind of in a tough situation. All my abilities are on cooldown, and I only can really buff a Witch King, which doesn't really benefit too well from my buffs, but the one I was hoping to get off was my A ability, which will give him some movement speed, and hopefully he could get out of there. And if I would have got my stealth up, he probably definitely would have got out of there, but I was all on cooldown. And that's one of the tough parts about Elrond, is his abilities have a kind of a, I would say, medium length of cooldown, and it puts you in an awkward situation whenever you don't have abilities, and that's why you really want to hug your teammates. Now, if I have a couple of tips for Elrond, it is to not spam your abilities. You really want to use your abilities when they're going to be most effective, because like I said just a little bit ago, they do have kind of lengthy cooldown, And if you just spam abilities and you don't really making them count, you're really not doing much, because the whole point of your support is to really make your abilities count. So the one thing I usually do is save your A ability. It does a lot of damage when you're in a group fight. If you can buff everybody's attack speed and it adds a little bit of damage, make sure you save it for that. When you use your B ability, that's the one I would say could be a spam ability. Just use it whenever your team needs health, but you always want to put it in a safe position, because remember, it does take a long time to heal up, and if you put it out near the enemies, then you're not going to be able to use it. And you're not going to be able to heal up effectively if the enemies try to press you. Now, for your invisibility move, I would always use that if you're making ground on the enemies. Use it offensively, and on the flip side, if you're being pushed, use it defensively. That's why I like that ability a lot. It can be offensive or defensive. Offensive in the fact that when you run ability power, you can do about 80 something damage. Really depends how much ability power you have, but if you have around what I have, it'll do around 80, I think like 85 ability damage. And when your creeps are all hiding in the invisibility and they're not revealed until they do damage, it can kind of distract the enemy, do some burn damage, confuse them a little bit. And when they're pressing you, what you can do is you pop your invisibility, and a lot of times it has a nice range where they're not really going to be able to tell where you're going to go, because it has a pretty wide radius. So they might think you can go like up, down, especially when you focus it in like the center of a lane where you're near multiple connections between other lanes, and it really makes it confusing. And I like that move a lot, so you really want to save that in team fights. Just don't use it right off the bat to do some area damage. You might need it if your team's not faring very well. So we're trying to make a push on the last tower, and they do a good job of holding us off. I don't know why the four of us are just kind of hiding from two guardians, but we gave them time for their other guardians to spawn and rally and regroup. So now we're kind of in a tough spot where we have to kind of start over, push back a little bit. This is a very back and forth game. These are the kind of games I really like, because it's not really fun when you just know you're going to win, or definitely not fun when you know you're going to lose. And when you have those games where it goes back and forth, and both teams are just doing well, they just have, each team has their moments where they make a push or don't, and it just comes down to making mistakes, and whatever team doesn't, it's probably going to come out in the end. A lot of people were hyped up when Elrond first came out, and then they were really let down by his abilities. I think they could easily make them a lot stronger if they just play around with the cooldown times or enhance the abilities a little bit. I want to thank you guys for watching. If you made it through the whole video, thank you. It took a long time to do these longer videos. That's why I try to keep them usually around 10 to 15 minutes. But I did have a lot of fun playing Elrond. He's a cool guardian, and I hope you guys check out my future videos. Tell the new players that just bought the game to check me out. It'll probably be a lot easier for them and a little bit faster if they watch the videos and pick some things up before they enter the battlegrounds. And you can see here I got a bunch of assists. That's what I like doing when I play support. Got 29 assists, so I'm happy about that. Thanks again, and there'll be more videos coming out soon.